SoundCloud.
I literally read it so many times. I'm reading it backwards now.
I think this is a good note for everybody out there.
He says that I don't pull well on TikTok, so
He doesn't. It's
videos
just a
with
fact.
me.
It just doesn't pull well. It's called social media for a reason, and it's not selfish media.
I just gotta clear something up. You weren't the 12th man on the field right now, right?
There is no easy way to get anything ever. And started looking like Jason Statham. All of a sudden, you just kick randomly.
Yep. It's part of the reactionary thing. Yeah. Got to be ready to fight at any time because he is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Miss Chrissy May.
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning, Chrissy.
Good morning, Matt.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to jump into, we do this in the beginning of every episode. Since the new year, we've been adding a daily devotional at the beginning. So We're going to hit up the Bible first, if you don't mind, and then we'll jump into our interview.
All right.
She says yes to that, I believe.
Woo.
All right. Bri Guy, go ahead if you would. I've got a short little proverb for you today, if you want to read that off.
Yes, sir. We are in Proverbs 29:18. Where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained, but happy is he who keeps the law.
All right. So, obviously today we are talking about clarity. When I think of clarity, I like to go to the opposite first. And I'm like, okay, well, we just talked yesterday about clutter. You can't be clear if you have a bunch of other stuff in the way. So part of the process is going to be elimination. Here in this, we're saying where there is no vision, where there is no, if you're not, because you can't go anywhere unless you're clear, if you have a clear vision of where you want to go. Mm-hmm. Right? And so this is saying where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained. If they're unrestrained, this means like there's no, it's chaotic. It's just like people are going to do what they want to do when they want to do it, and nobody's obeying the law. The law being what sort of we know is good for us. And this is a concept I've been playing with quite a bit, and I know Jordan Peterson talks about this as well. The idea of finding a way to parent yourself. And I think that's like the hardest thing is like creating the law that you obey, because you know it's best for you. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that's the most difficult. Chrissy, what do you think about this?
I think it's really important. I think you hit a really good point, is to remove any distractions that are prohibiting you from your next level of growth. And sometimes that's very difficult for people to navigate through, because many times that could even mean, that lifelong friend or that family member that just is not supporting you along your journey. And so removing distractions is a very, very important part of the process.
So what if you have a family member, somebody that you love and care about, but they keep distracting your show by like kicking chords?
All right, guys. Come on now. Come on.
That's a good one.
All right, very good. So we titled the episode Master Clarity and Get into Alignment. I know this is an important subject for you. You want to dive into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I pretty much wraps it up in 4 steps that I've used my life and I provide my clients with. And that first is remove distractions, like we discussed. If you have things in your way, whether that's people, environments, whatever it may be, that's prohibiting you from growing, it's almost impossible to go to that next level. You're going to be staying stagnant where you are currently at. And so a great way to get there too is to reconnect with yourself, which is the second step. So how do we do that? Well,
hold on. So let's back up here. So what's the first step here in the 4-step process?
Remove distractions.
I love this. Remove distractions. Okay.
I told you guys were going to be best friends.
Yeah, you're right. Joey was like, "Oh, dude, no wonder you're excited about this girl. Apparently she's female Matt." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." All right, so
elaborate on that if you like. It's even more so that it's relationships.
Yeah, remove distractions. I love this. Okay, and we can come back to it. That's fine. So step number 2, go ahead.
Reconnect with yourself. So reconnect with self.
Nice. Why don't you go ahead and expand on that one?
So if we don't have our daily practices set in place, we're not going to have a clearer vision on where we want to go and what we want to attract in our life. And so it's really important to start implementing systems that really help guide us there, whether that's meditation practice, whether it's journaling, your spiritual practice. If these fundamental practices aren't put in place, if you don't even know who you are, then how do you even know where you want to go? And ultimately, what do you want to attract? So having that alone time to rediscover or reconnect with where you're at in life is really important.
Okay, good. And then step number 3?
It's going to be rediscover you. And I like this one a lot because I'm just going to bring up one point here. It's rediscovering you and what you need. And this is really going back to honoring self. So many of us are out pleasing others or doing good deeds for, this person, that person, but we're not honoring ourselves and what we need. So if you don't have your cup full, how can you be the best leader? How can you be the best husband or wife or friend or, coworker? You need to start implementing those steps again. That's going to help you fill your cup first and honoring self.
So it's like we got to put on our own mask before we can put on the mask of others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Okay. And step number 4?
This is the most important step. I believe it's reflection. Without self-awareness, without reflecting on your day-to-day activities and choices that you make, how can you grow if you don't have that staple? So reflection is a very key part in the growth process.
I love it. Okay. So we have remove distractions, reconnect with self, then rediscover you, which is, those two are pretty close, but I get the difference here is the first one is you got to see, like, connect into you. And then the second one is like, you got to sort of take care of you.
Exactly. So you're going to start putting those steps into action now. So once you have that foundation set in place, you have a clear vision for everything in your life. You can now trust yourself fully and love yourself completely.
Yeah.
And so now it's just not operating on just writing things down. I think people get so caught up in the whole process of, I'm going to journal, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to do all this. So I did all the steps. Why is my life not changing? Why is it not happening for me? And so it's just going deeper. And I think that's, a lot of people live on the surface level, and they don't take the time to dive really deep into what is it that they really want in life.
Yeah, so and we talk about on this show and at the studio the connection between acting and life, and it's so blatantly obvious once you get into it, because real acting, the good acting, is all about being truthful. It's all about bringing truth into a character. So as you develop the skill set to be truthful, you then implement this into your life, and it's unbelievable how transformative it can be to just literally be honest with yourself, to say, here's what's true about me. And I'll tell you, well, you know this, but the whole world has been struggling since this coronavirus hit, and it threw us all off kilter. And in some ways, it's been very good for a lot of people to get thrown out of their routines and have to figure out who they are a little bit. Because what happened was everybody got tossed. What they thought they wanted was to sit at home and watch Netflix for 3 weeks. Then they did that, and they're like, oh, why am I so depressed and sad? And so they had to find something else, and before you know it, people found themselves outside walking and doing some good things. So that's great. What happened with me is, and I'm in the process of this, Chrissy, so this is kind of a cool admission for me. February 2nd, 2018 was the day I woke up, and I know you're an early riser. I am as well. Started getting up at 4 a.m., and it changed my life. Started writing, reading, speaking. We already had a studio going, everything else was going, but like this was really turning point in my life. Well, a couple years back, I suffered like a really nasty knee injury, and I've been fighting it for the last 2-3 years now. Had 3 surgeries. I haven't been able to run in that long of a time, and I'm sure you know, exercise is so important. It's such a huge part of like taking care of self. And most of my friendships that I had relied around some sort of sporting activity and stuff. So this has been like a real battle for me. And then going into like the nutrition side of things, I started being a lot more careful after I woke up, but I was never like excited about nutrition. So then all of a sudden it was like, okay, well, I can't just run off the cookie anymore. I've got to start like learning how to eat better. And through that process, and this is like this up and down, I'm still stuck in this up and down cycle that I'm like, literally today, I just convinced myself again that I'm like, Brian said, do you want this bar? I was like, no, dude, I'm fasting. because energy is everything. Like energy is so important, like what you have to energy. And yesterday it was like one choice led to the next choice, to the next choice. And before you know it, I had like a donut, and then I had, you know, oreganos with the family and this and that. And I just, when you've been out of the fog, it's so crazy how clear it is when you feel it. And I felt like numb in all of my cells. Like I was just like useless to the world a little bit. And that's sort of like finding that clarity, finding the way to not live in the fog, but to kind of come out of the fog, wake up, as we can call it. Or I think you talk about this, like the idea of being reborn too is like so important. And so here we are, like kind of trying to, like, I'm trying to figure out why my why is not strong enough for nutrition, because I really want to stick with it. I understand it intellectually. I want the energy. I know where I'm going. I know what I have to do, and I know I need the energy to get there. It's the same reason it's like easy for me not to drink alcohol. I haven't drinking alcohol in 6 years. It's like a no-brainer for me. So now I really have to like dive deep into myself, and this is a part of your steps here. I gotta connect in and be willing to figure out, obviously something is still holding me back from going all the way into what I would consider loving myself at the highest level. Am I a good case study for you?
I think that was wonderful. And I think that's most people, especially when you're in that transitional state of next level, always, you know, leveling up, and you're very self-aware on where you're at right now and where you want to go. And I think asking ourselves really important questions along the way, you know, self-coaching ourselves is really important. I know for me, anytime it all comes down to choices, and I have to negotiate that with myself. If I want to be here in 2 weeks from now, whatever that goal is I established for myself, I have to say no to something else. And that's just the way it's going to be. And so by showing up for myself every single day, even if it's the smallest thing, like just not, it doesn't have to be some grand gesture, but just the smallest thing that I said, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z today. And if I do that, that helps build more confidence within myself. I begin to trust myself more fully now. And so I'm training myself to show up better each day, which ultimately, like you said, the whole thing with drinking, you haven't done it in 6 years. It's a no-brainer for you. For some people, that's very difficult. And how do you get there? I imagine it was through the steps of just training, or some people just say, this is not serving me, I'm done. And
you know what it was is I redefined who I was, and it didn't fit into my self-image anymore. And I think that's a big part of it is we have values, and we have a certain belief system as to who we are. And if you believe it to your core that this is who I am, all of a sudden you don't accept anything less. It's interesting. Like yesterday, there was a birthday party here at the studio. It was actually my son's birthday, and Joey, thank you. You brought in donuts. It was great.
Yeah.
But I was amazed because this one kid, I know his mom really well. She's a friend of the family, and I just happen to know that they're a gluten-free family, like totally healthy, and like, you know, they don't eat donuts normally. I watched this kid, and he just sat there. He didn't touch the donuts, but he wasn't sad. He wasn't like worried about it. He was just like, cool. You guys see this? Yeah. And then this was really great. I thought this was great parenting. The mom showed up while the kids were still eating the donuts, and he had told everybody, like, I can't, because I had asked my mom if it's gluten-free or whatever. And then he wasn't sad. It was just totally cool. And then mom says, okay, good. Well, it's not gluten-free, but you know, help yourself. You can have one. Just listen to your body. When your body feels like it's, you know, it's done, or doesn't feel right, just stop. And I was like, that's good. That's really good. Because it's also not the forbidden fruit either, you know? Sure. So here the kid has exercised restraint, has asked the question, now knows what's going into his body, and then he's going to be able to regulate it and then make those decisions long-term in his life. And that, what a great lesson on food that is right there. It's like, so, and you could actually see, it's interesting, the kid's maybe 8. And you can see based on his skin and different things that he eats a certain way. You can just tell. Yeah. So it's like his body's going to probably be highly reactive to this food in a way that maybe other kids' bodies won't be. So when she says, listen to your body, he's really going to feel it and go, oh, do I want this as a part of my long-term life? You know? And like I said yesterday, like, it's amazing how sugar can be like any other drug. And you can crave it, you can want it, it's just like so heavy, and then you can get a headache from having too much of it or not enough or whatever. It's just it's pretty nuts how all this stuff kind of connects. I know, Chrissy, you're into health and wellness. Is this a big part of your process when you work with a client?
Always. Absolutely. Because everything's connected. You know, I mean, you can't just work on the mind, it's all connected. And what you just said is really important. If someone's food intake program every single day is just junk, how in the world do you plan on growing your mind? Because it's all connected into one, which is that holistic lifestyle. If your gut's affected, it's going to affect your brain.
Yeah.
And so what you're putting into your body is so important. People don't really view food like that. It's so interesting. And I love all the fun stuff too, but I also know that feeling good, like really feeling good, is going to allow me to attract what I want in my life, because we attract who we are, not what we want in life. And so if you can bring yourself to that state of feeling good and removing the stuff that doesn't feel so good, that is ultimately going to be, a roadblock to where you want to go, it becomes a little bit easier. Plus I think it's just developing a new mindset too of, there are great foods out there that taste just as good, if not better. It's just bringing yourself to that awareness.
Yeah, and changing your taste buds too. Like understanding that we do evolve as human beings, and we will all of a sudden, it's all about your association. That's the other crazy thing about it. Because you even said something just now a second ago, like, I like all the fun stuff too. Well, that means, like, if we say that attached to certain things, you're actually attaching fun to something, whereas really we can completely relearn it. If let's just say I eat something, I get a headache. I eat something, I get a headache. If I don't connect the dots that the food equals the headache, then I'll be like, food fun, headache not fun, and I'll put Tylenol in the middle every time, right? Instead of going food pain, food, pain, food, pain. Okay, now I've made that connection between this food and pain. Let me just try to switch the food and see if I get the pain. Okay, this new food, no pain. This new food, relief. This new food, energy. And then it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden your brain becomes excited about the new thing. And ideally, I think, I love this idea of a healthy fear. Okay, so I talked about this in class the other night. I'm not afraid of guns. I have a healthy fear of guns. Like, I'm not nervous around a gun, but I have a healthy fear of a gun, right? So we can have healthy fear. We can use fear to our advantage. I can put fear on something that I know is going to benefit me long term. So I could literally fear the cupcake because I know the amount of pain that it gives me. Joey, you've probably experienced this recently because of your braces. Mm-hmm. How many times has there been like a food that you would normally like, but you've got like a cold sore or something from the braces rubbing against your lip, and then you're like, I'm literally afraid of the food. Like a pitsy stick, and you're like, oh, don't get that near me because it's gonna burn.
Yeah, 100% of the time, every time.
Yeah,
it's a routine in the calendar now. So and Brian knows this because he's my roommate. But every time, every 6 weeks, I go get my braces tightened. And I just know now that they're going to stab me and I'm going to get sore. So I need to eat soft foods for a week. So most of the time...
Are you in the middle of that right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to go to commercial break here in a second. But,
okay.
But you've been killing it this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. You have been a next level you.
It's true.
This week. Chrissy, we got something here.
It's holistic.
How do we keep Joey in this state? We got to keep messing up his mouth. That's the key. The key is we give him a little punch in the face every now and then just to keep the sores active. That's the key. That's the key to your show.
I could like hit him while he's sleeping or something.
Perfect. If you would, I'll pay you for that. I'll pay you extra.
Great.
All right, Chrissy, we're going to go to commercial. When we come back, I do want to talk to you about Reiki healing. I think that's going to be an interesting topic. I also want to talk to you about your upcoming video series, the Thrive in 30, and how we can help you kind of push through any of your roadblocks there. And then I also want to ask you, so think about this, how the best way would be for one of our clients to come and work with you as well, because I think you might have a lot to offer some of our people. All right, everyone, we'll be right back in a couple minutes here.
Every word matters.
The plays are so beautiful and so rich, and I'm just so blessed to be working on it.
We have a responsibility to vibrate worldwide truth.
Tell me no fire, you're hitting on my sister.
I could kind of care less about you landing jobs. I just want you to be a better person. We can be someplace 10 years from now, all of us. All right, so we're gonna end here. I'm gonna leave everybody with this. I drew this before this scene started. So this is a little diagram I was thinking about, 3 circles, okay? So here it is. So this is you, all right? This is you. These other 2 circles, that's you also 10 years from now. You make decisions. You make decisions. The truth is, we all can be, we can be someplace 10 years from now, all of us. You decide, where do you want to be? And then you start making the little decisions to get there. Little decisions like reading every day, working out, eating right, studying, becoming a better actor every day. It's unlimited the amount of work. So like to think like, oh, I'm ready, and to be confident is different than if you came in terrified. The terrified is more humility. I'm terrified to coach you because I respect you, and because I respect the play and I respect the room. I'm legitimately terrified. Before you started, I was scared because I want you to do well, and I want to find a way to reach you that's not hurtful, but that is inspiring and that does really, really reach your core. And I think we got there. I hope we did. But it's up to you. It's really. Because you're either going to go, yeah, I get it and I want it, and it's life-changing, and that you'll probably figure that out in that alone time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Chrissy May here. Chrissy, let's dive in first into this video series you got coming up, the Thrive in 30. I'm curious about that.
Okay, so yeah, I was looking to put something together to offer on social media that, was quick, that gave a great punch besides just a written quote. I spend a lot of time in my Instagram stories, and so every morning I would start off by, putting some positive quote for the day for people to hopefully resonate with and, give them some positivity throughout their day. And so that was just it. And people would start messaging me, talking about that quote or whatever. And I thought, what's the way I can become more proactive with my following and give them just a better punch, just more powerful hit. And so attention span of everyone is pretty much gone these days. So 30 seconds seemed to be a really good number. And it's just 30 seconds of content that I can give people in order to move the needle every single day in order to thrive.
Is this something they can find on your Instagram or?
Correct. Yeah. So we've shot 2 video series already. Like 10 videos have been edited, so I'll be uploading those within the next week. And they're just fun little tips on how to thrive. Anywhere from letting go and surrendering to things you can actually implement on a daily basis, just to move that needle slightly and start stacking those small wins for yourself.
And you had a question here. You mentioned something about, or it wasn't really a question, but something about the one of the obstacles you're running into right now is the the getting it out there and listening to your own voice and all that kind of thing. How are you doing with that?
It's getting better. I'm starting to get out of my own way a lot easier because I'm showing up in my daily routine consistently. But it's just one of those things where I don't, it's analysis paralysis, and I observe it way too much. I take it in way too much. And so I have just a ton of videos I've never uploaded because of that.
Yeah.
It's just a place that I'm getting out of my own way. I'm understanding that what I'm doing, it's not even about me. And so this is really to serve others. And so I have to let my ego park it, leave it at the door, and just move forward and bring the fear with me. So that's really where I'm at with it right now.
I love that. Yeah. And fail forward, just put it out there and expect the critique and move forward. That's really great. I'm glad you're pushing through that. All right. Let's talk about Reiki healing. What is Reiki healing?
Well, some people think it's foo-foo, and I understand that. Until you experience it, it's something that's really hard to describe, but essentially it's energy healing. And so, we all have an energy field within our body, and it's been also named laying of the hands. And so when you lay your hands over someone throughout their body, you can actually heal through your energy field and transfer that energy onto the other person, to your patient, client, whatever. And I experienced it for the first time in 2000. I was at Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and when I started taking the class, I was a misbeliever. I didn't think it would work. I didn't understand how you could barely touch somebody and actually feel healing, a healing process with it. And so by going through it, it definitely healed so many areas in my body. It helps so much with anxiety, depression, calming. It's a very therapeutic modality to use.
So you were a non-believer at the time. So do you have to believe it's going to work for Reiki to work?
No, it's a feeling, and I think it's different for everybody. People that are more woke, if you will, that are really, in tune to their body, they're definitely going to feel it. It's kind of like a new thing I'm using now called sound healing, with the bowls. Have you ever seen that, where people like wand around the bowls and it creates this incredible vibration? Mm-hmm. I went to a class a couple months ago. I think it was a couple months ago with my friend. And I had like this incredible feeling. I was levitating. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And I look at him and he's like, I didn't feel anything. I fell asleep. And so, we all have different, a different openness to this. And I've been practicing my spiritual journey, if you will, for the last 20 years. So I'm definitely a lot more open than somebody who has never really practiced. So it's pretty powerful stuff, though, if you ever want to try it.
Matt's wife, Leanne, has one of those bowls.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
She does?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Really?
Michelle got it for her birthday. Yeah.
No, I didn't know she had one.
Oh yeah, she had it. Yeah. She had it out and she showed me.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of neat. You should try it.
She should do some healing on me. I don't know.
What's going on here? Huh?
Yeah. How come you didn't know?
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. So if someone was going to work with you, how does that process work? How do they hire you, and are there different ways to get involved if somebody wants to use you as a coach?
Sure. So the first and foremost is I do set up an appointment. If they're here locally, I'm a big advocate for face-to-face time. I like meeting somebody face-to-face. I know things are a little different right now, but if we can, that's the first approach to see if we're even going to be a good fit for each other. There's no sense in working with somebody unless you feel that same connection. The other thing for me now is I only work with people with a burning desire. If you don't have a burning desire to make a shift in your life, then there's nothing I can do for you. And when I first started coaching 20 years ago in the health and wellness space, I thought I could cure everybody. I wanted to take on anybody and everybody because I really thought I could do that, and it's the biggest setup for that expectation is not even real. So nowadays, if you have a burning desire to create a shift in your life, I absolutely can assist in that process. So.
Okay, and then how do they reach you? What steps do they take? Is there a phone, email, website, something?
Email, website. They can message me through Instagram. I mean, it's whatever. Text. I mean, I don't have one specific form of communication with that. So.
Okay, so if you guys are interested, it's Chrissy May. That's ChrissysYMay.com. ChrissyMay.com. You can also follow her on Instagram at the Chrissy May, or Facebook, same thing. And what do you got going on YouTube?
Right now, or
yeah.
just putting it up?
No, right now. If we go to your channel, what?
Now you're gonna find some fun shake videos that I created a couple years ago. There's a few interviews up with people that I interviewed that are local or entrepreneurs that are creating great impact in the community. Just a lot of good positive stuff. If you go to my YouTube channel, you're definitely going to hopefully take away some sort of knowledge, little nugget for the day for sure.
All right, good. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
I was just gonna say, just curious as an editor, how what's like the average length of one of your videos?
The ones up right now that are just the shake videos are right around 1 minute to 1.5 minutes.
Neat.
I think that's a really good. I always want to stay around 1 minute. I think that really, and I can see it in my analytics, where people drop off and stuff. And so the minute mark, I think, works really well.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's for me. I mean, everybody has their thing. But the long form interviews, those are probably 6 to 8 minutes.
Nice.
All right, so let's end here. We'll do, I'll throw you a question, you throw me a question. All right, so how can someone overcome an obstacle that they're currently experiencing and begin to thrive?
Okay, first and foremost, identify what that obstacle is. And then secondly, search for a solution. Witness it, what it is, and then search for the solution. Start shifting your mindset to, what can I learn from this? What is this teaching me? Where is the opportunity to see this differently? And then shift your focus to gratitude immediately and start focusing on the things that you're grateful for. That's going to really pull you out of that negative state, that low vibrational energy, so you can start actually shifting into a positive direction. And then ultimately, it's going to build your emotional fitness. So you may not have the answer right now today, but you always have the ability to move the needle forward and learn more every single day and start stacking those small wins. So it's a great way just to kind of shift it from where you're at to where you're going.
I will say I agree.
I have a question on that.
Joey's like, I expect more. Matt usually rants. No, that's great.
I kind of expected that, actually.
Oh, okay.
Just because it sounded, again, I mean, I feel like you guys are twins, but
yeah, you gotta get the gratitude. We say it slightly different, but you're right.
It's the same messaging that you give students and people that you're one-on-one with or whatever.
All right, Jason Statham, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so are you in like continual as far as meditation and stuff and going into those? Is there like a routine you have for that also?
Great question. I work with certain meditations for a period of length of time. So for instance, I have my go-to morning meditation that is roughly about 5 to 8 minutes, and it's a guided one. I like being guided. It helps me visualize. It helps me let go of things that are no longer serving me, that I'm holding on to physically, so I can clear my energy field and just really start attracting beautiful things in my life. And so the nighttime one is also more of a clearing, but that one isn't guided. It's typically just, it's something that I vibe with. It's either music or something that really calms me. And I typically will have, lots of candles. I create the environment. I create the feeling, because ultimately that's what I want to pick up and channel. And so, but those are definitely non-negotiables in my life. I meditate morning and night, always. And that has been a huge, huge shift into my next level of development. I never miss a day. And if I do, I feel it.
Is this always the first and last thing?
Always. Always. Like when I wake up in the morning, I never grab my phone to go on social. I don't read text messages. I don't go to email. I never do any of that. The very first thing I do is I hit my meditation. That's the first thing I do. And it's, you have to create that structure and that daily routine that's going to help advance you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get started and they fall off. I've had a few clients lately that have been doing that. And even they can reflect back on, wow, that really was working in my life, because when I did have my meditations, A, B, and C was happening in my life.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I gotta just throw this out there. You're a 4 a.m. riser. Do you like sit up for your meditations? Because if I turned on a meditation at 4 a.m. in my bed, I would not wake up.
That's a great question. That's going to work for everybody's different. So for you, I would suggest you just get out of bed and then go sit, whether it's on your couch or a chair or something that's going to actually wake you up. Other people can actually just lay in bed and still feel that meditation. I can do either, and it just depends on my energy and how I feel for that morning. If I know that I'm going to maybe fall back asleep, I'm out of bed and I'm in my chair doing it. So
That's awesome.
And I would say, Joey, to add on to that, part of that morning actually starts the night before. Mm-hmm. So if you had meditated the night before and you had put yourself into a feeling state, and let's just say you don't end the day with Netflix or the news or something that kind of like throws you into like this state of unrest, you'll have actually told yourself why it's so important to wake up and why you're excited to wake up. And that's why sometimes when we wake up, our body pops, and other times it's just like, ugh, yeah, I don't feel like it or whatever, because you haven't put yourself in a state of mind before you went to sleep in order to make waking up important.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something I struggle with, because sometimes I feel like I've done the same thing 2 nights in a row, but one night I wake up and I'm super energized, and the next night I wake up late, or I wake up groggy or whatever. And like you said, it's about, even if you technically did the same thing, it's the intention, what you're putting in your mind before you go to bed, what you did 30 minutes before you laid down, all of that comes into play.
And well, it sometimes takes time to develop these really good habits, first of all. So you can't beat yourself up. But also, I'm a huge proponent in really looking for the little things. It's just like in acting. I want to get really curious about the details. So for instance, if you bought donuts yesterday, it's like, okay, did I have a donut the day before? If I did, at what time? I wonder if that affected my morning. I wonder if that affected my headache or my mood or my whatever. And it's not just food, but like food is a part of it. She mentioned the gut. They call the gut the second brain. Mm-hmm. So it's sincerely powerful. Yeah. And I know it, I understand it, and I'm still battling it daily, because there's that sense of a lot of who, I put a lot of stock in the physical, like, workout part of me. So when that was stripped from me, it's been a battle, right? And sure. as it's coming back, that's great. But it's like, I actually don't want that to have power over me anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be like, well, now that I'm working out again, that's why I feel good. Like, no. Like, you can feel good, you can find a way, because if God forbid you ended up in a wheelchair, you could still find a way to make that happen. That's up to you, Matt. You figure that out, right? Yeah. So it becomes this, for me, it's this experimentation process, like really getting curious and wanting to experiment with me. Yeah,
for sure. And I'll talk into a little bit of just like people around my age, younger people. I know for me, it's always been something where I'm like, I'll cross that bridge when it matters to me as far as food goes, because I'm like, I can eat anything and I feel fine and I stay skinny and I run or do whatever and I don't feel it the next day, like it's not a pain, so I don't see any negative effects as far as visually, but it's something where you can make the excuse for yourself, but instead, if you just acknowledge and look at the people around you and go, well, it's only a matter of time before I get older and it does affect me, and it can have all these positive effects if you start to experiment, like you said.
Yeah. So the experimentation process goes like this. You look and you go, okay, is it really not affecting me? I've convinced myself it doesn't affect me, therefore I could care less.
Yeah.
But here, the guy that you work for, has just told you, I mean, several times I've said this week, dude, you're killing it. Dude, you're on your A game. Dude. And now I've just given you an association, which is you cut back on food, you change the way you eat, and all of a sudden you're getting compliments. But you're not putting two and two together as far as like, oh, wow, interesting. This does affect me in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just because it's like the picture of Dorian Gray. You ever read that book?
No.
All right, this is
It's a whole nother thing.
It's literally its own episode, but basically there's this idea of this guy, okay, and he has this picture of himself, this self-portrait, and what happens is all of his sins go onto the portrait, and he gets to stay young, looking the way he looks, like he still like is like the most beautiful man that you've ever seen, but the picture of him gets like feels all the effects of what he does. So if he eats the donut, it doesn't go onto his body, but it goes onto the portrait's body. If he sins in some way, which he does in the book, like horribly, does bad things, murder, different things, the effects in his eyes and his, whatever skin, like it doesn't show, but it shows on the portrait. So by the end, the portrait is just riddled with evil and like this feeling over there. But he still looks this way. That's kind of the idea of what you're at, because you're at this age right now where on the outside, yeah, it doesn't look any different to me, really.
Yeah.
But on the inside, there's so much going on that you can now like level up. And I always tell people, I mean, you're so lucky to hear this information at your age. You can see it as that, or you can continue to ignore it and then see, and just see where you're going to end up.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really, really cool, Joe. All right, Chrissy, you got a question for us on the way out?
Well, I was going to ask, just to add to what you guys were talking about, do you guys journal at all about reflection, like your day-to-day stuff? Because that does help a lot of people as far as what you mentioned, being aware of what made you feel good, what didn't make you feel good. I mean, does that just go through your mind, or do you actually write it down?
I used to journal in the mornings. It's been a long time, but I used to write down like what I did the night before, what I ate, and then what I did in the morning, how I felt when I got up, etc., etc. And then that dropped off.
Too much work?
Not even that, just more of like not feeling like it did anything, or feeling like it was like it took a lot of time in the morning, and I was like, I could be doing blank with this time or blank with this time. So it wasn't a top priority in the moment over time, which is why I think it fell. But I enjoyed it, so I would definitely be open to doing it again.
I'd try it again. Just, it doesn't have to be long, it's just something real quick. Like, what action made you feel really great? What action made you not feel so great? It's just a good way to track stuff and look back.
Chrissy, when's the best time to journal?
Ooh.
I have one I carry with me all the time. So even if I have like something that comes at me throughout the day, I can grab my journal and write into it real quickly, so I don't forget that thought, and I can just bring it all together later in the day. But some people love morning time. Others, I think the biggest results I've seen with people is after the entire day. Like after you've gone through your day, just to kind of have that moment of reflection, about 10 minutes or so. It could even just take 5 minutes. Just set aside that time quickly just to kind of recap the day and what worked for you and what didn't. So.
Now, I wasn't doing one at the end of the day, so I'd like to do that now. But then I had notes on my phone. So I do, specifically it's for the food, but anytime I have like a food thing or something go on, I put it in there. And then I'm thinking at the end of the day now, reflect over all of it, because I wasn't adding feelings in there. So it was just the stuff,
Well, and I'm going to say too, probably the most important part of the journal is exactly what Chrissy just said, which is what is working, what isn't. And you got to give yourself wins and be honest, like, hey, I did some good things today. And then you got to be very honest with what isn't working, right? So like, for instance, for me, the phone is a trap, you know, the computer is a trap. So for me to say I'm going to journal in my phone, I know what's going to happen. There's some notifications going to go on, or I'm just going to be drawn to a certain, like, whatever app or something. And I may be strong for a week, but can I be strong for life when I pull out the device and literally, like, the thing that is, you know, so shiny and you know, tempting, if it's in my hand, am I really setting myself up to not be on my phone at night?
Yeah.
You know?
I was going to say, you struck a chord just now with what you said, because that was another reason is I think I read them back before I like stopped, and I was like, these all are very similar. Like, you know, so then again, it was like, I was like, I don't see any like help that's happening. So that's just a hole I found myself in when I was doing it. So I'm excited to take what you guys said and try those new things. Maybe do it at the end of the night instead of the beginning of the morning. But
it can take a couple minutes. Here's the other thing: it can take a few minutes for you to actually sit and think about, really, what could I have done better? Because it's easy to just go, here's what I did today. Here's what I didn't do today. It's harder to go, you know what? There was that one decision that I made, and that one decision, one way or the other, really, that's interesting how that impacted the rest of my day. And you're just like, well, curious about that. And you kind of write that down, and now you're putting into your brain, you're putting into your psychology, like, oh, this is an interesting thing, instead of letting it just be a nothing burger.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I didn't do that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Love that.
It becomes more exciting. It becomes like your journal becomes this living, breathing thing that can be very fun.
Yeah.
And then you can also look back to Joey and go, okay, as bland as it was a habit.
Yeah.
It was a new habit. It was something different. And I would venture to say what's interesting is that was something that you did because you were curious, because you were watching the stuff that I was doing and Brian was doing, and you kind of got into it, and you're like, I don't understand it, but I'll do it. And I would say those things that you did and failed at but did anyway, and were like, I didn't even know why I was doing it, but I did it. Those things have made you who you are now. So the question is, it's like, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And are you doing next level stuff? Like, okay, so I was journaling and I wasn't good at journaling, but it got me to where I am now.
Yeah.
Because this is how I look at it, right?
Sure,
I haven't journaled in a while, but I look back and I go, but journaling got me to where I am. So now I'm going, okay, how do I next level that process? How do I get excited about it again? And be realistic with me and go, well, do I want to stay where I am forever, or am I ready to go next level? If I'm ready to go next level, I got to do the things that it takes to get there.
Yeah. Love it. Period.
Exclamation point.
Yeah.
All right, Chrissy, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure appreciate it. You've been a wonderful guest. Ladies and gentlemen, you can reach Chrissy at chrissymay.com. And that is at Chrissy, or at the Chrissy May. Do not mistake her for any other Chrissy May. She's
the Chrissy May.
Chrissy May on Instagram and Facebook. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Mornings with Matt show. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share, help us spread this light-driven content to the planet. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.
Have a chippy day, everyone. Rough.